Hello, and welcome to another insightful episode of Divorce Literacy Podcast. I'm your host, Theresa Springer, a certified divorce lending professional in the Portland, Vancouver area. And I'm here to bring you valuable conversations about navigating the intricate world of family law, financial well-being, and everything in between when looking at divorce. So today I have a really special guest joining us, and he's obviously from the beautiful city of Portland, Oregon. Patrick is a legal luminary and dedicated advocate in the divorce space, and he's been a real guiding light for those seeking clarity in the complex realm of divorce law. So please help me extend a warm welcome to Patrick Ward, founder of Clarity Law. Patrick, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Theresa. I'm really excited to be here and have a conversation and see what I can do to help your listeners.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. So I am going to just jump right in. So why don't you provide us with a little background knowledge about yourself and your practice?
Yeah, so I've been practicing law for about 20 years. Actually, it'll be 21 coming up. So time does fly. And I spent a good portion of my practice representing the state of Oregon doing child welfare cases. And meaning that I was prosecuting child welfare cases, and those were emotionally difficult and very challenging from the side of working with families. And finally I just got to a point in the summer of 2019 where I was just done. I couldn't do it anymore. And I think I knew when it was done. To tell a quick story, I was doing an informational interview with the law clerk, and she was very nice, and it was a nice conversation. And she was going through her questions, and she asked me what I liked about my job, and I could not think of one thing I liked about my job that day. And it wasn't a special day. I mean, it wasn't like I had a really hard day. It was Tuesday, or whatever. And I'm like, maybe I should think about doing something else. So, I talked to my wife shortly thereafter, and I said, I need to think about doing something else. And she was like, yes, I've been telling you for years, you need to think about doing something else. And she's always been a lot smarter than I am. And so, I started thinking about other things to do, and, I decided that at the end of 2019, I would go ahead and start looking at other projects and things to do. And I wasn't even sure I was going to be a lawyer anymore. And so I was looking at different options. And so January 1 of 2020, I woke up without a plan. But I started, thinking about what I liked about the law and what I missed. And I still wanted to continue to do the intellectual side of things, but I was done with the advocacy part of the law, and the that part of the law that dealt with for lack of a better word, demonizing the other side, and really aligning with one side over the other. And that's not really what I wanted to do. And so I started looking at mediation as an opportunity, and then I fell into collaborative law. So really, since the middle part of 2020, I've been focusing my practice on being a mediator and being a collaborative divorce attorney, and really advocating for the family as opposed to one person within the case. So that's really been my focus. That's been my efforts. That's been my training. And you that when you're in the right place, when your job brings you joy, as opposed to bringing you making you feel emotionally downtrodden. And so now I act as a mediator, and as a mediator I can't give legal advice, but I can help people work through their legal issues and make decisions for themselves. And that just brings me so much joy. I, in fact, just finished a mediation, and I just feel so good about the work that I do. And being a collaborative attorney, yes, in that realm, and I'm happy to explain what collaborative is as opposed to mediation. But in that realm, I'm working with one of the clients, but really I'm part of the team working with the family as a whole to help them make decisions. So it really does just make me feel better about the work that I do, about who I am. It really allows me to really focus on being true to myself within that framework of helping people. And that's really what I got into the law to do, is to be a resource for people. And in this way, I feel like I'm being a true resource, as opposed to trying to be detrimental to somebody, because that's not who I am. It's not really true to who I am. And now I'm really focusing on something who I want to be. So that hopefully gets to that question that you were asking. I may have kind of gone off on a tangent. So
no, that's excellent. It's actually, I'm actually really glad you brought up the difference between mediation and collaborative, because I think a lot of folks don't understand that there are really 3 areas in family law where you can do mediation, collaborative, or you can be in litigation. And many folks just automatically go to litigation because that's what they see on TV or in the movies, and they don't understand that there's these 2 other options that frankly, I think are better in many ways, especially for a family with children.
yeah, I agree 100% with that. I think for most people, the litigation process, the going to court, sitting in front of a judge, having the judge make the decisions for you, doesn't work for families. There are some cases where it's certainly appropriate, but I think that for the most part, the family court system is not right for folks. And so, just to kind of put a frame around what collaborative is collaborative divorce. You're working as a team representing a client. So each client is represented by a collaboratively trained attorney, and that collaboratively trained attorney is providing legal advice to their client. The other attorney is providing legal advice to the other, spouse. And then we're coming together as a team, and we're having communications with each other. So we're talking with each other. We're, having conversations that are going to help the family make decisions. So really, and then we can bring in people like yourselves, because I know that you're an allied partner of the collaborative process. And help people make decisions about, okay, so you have a home that you need to address. How do you address that? And then the role of the attorney is to help them place that information into the concept of what their divorce is going to look like. So really, it's an empowering process to help the family make decisions, and utilizing the great information that you provide to families is really a key part of that. So the goal is to put a team in place that's really going to benefit the families and make sure that they have what they need to make these decisions.
I think that's amazing. I love the collaborative side, and I really like the mediation side, because I think it empowers people to, make decisions based on what they need versus a third party, like you said, a judge, which even though, if they're in litigation, hearing the case is different than really being, living the case as you do more with as a mediator or collaborative attorney, I think.
Yeah, that the parties are always going to know more about themselves and their situation than a judge ever would.
Exactly.
And, giving them the opportunity to make their decisions and the tools to make their decisions, I think is so incredibly important and empowering, like you said. I just love that word in this situation.
Yeah, I do too. Oh my gosh. So I know that each divorce is really unique, and everyone involved goes on their separate journey, and some are a little faster than the other person in the process. If you could change anything or give someone a heads up, some advice, obviously not legal advice, but just advice to someone starting down this path, what might that be?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's so many different thoughts that I have as you ask that. So I could probably think of 3 or 4 things. So stop me if I go too far.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So, one thing is to make sure that, you find a professional to work with, be it a lawyer, be it a CDLP like yourself, be a divorce coach, whoever you're choosing to work with, make sure that that is the right person. Not every, let me say it this way. I'm not the right mediator for every person. I'm not the right collaborative attorney for every person. And I know that. And I've been in situations where I thought maybe this isn't correct. And it just wasn't. I've learned to trust my gut in those situations. And, I'm not doing a service to the client or to the mediation participants if I'm not the right person for them. So I encourage people to go talk to multiple providers to make sure that I am the right fit. So that would be one thing. The next thing that I think that I would really like to make sure that people realize is, in the mediation process and in the collaborative process, and we try to share this information with clients, but I think it's so overwhelming when people are starting off on a divorce that they don't realize there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and things do need to go slow, and you can't rush this process. And part of what the professionals are doing are helping you build that bridge from all of this overwhelming information to making decisions. And so that bridge is important. You're not going to be able to make decisions immediately because there's just so many decisions that need to be made that you really kind of need to slow down and start thinking about how, each of these decisions are both individual and they're related to each other in a lot of different ways. But until you get a real sense of what is the decisions that need to be made, then you shouldn't start making decisions, and you're not going to have a full picture of what needs to happen. So I think a lot of it is to give yourself grace that you're not making decisions quickly, that even though you may be in a position where you're ready to move on and transition, these are hard conversations that need to occur in a lot of different ways, and they're hard decisions that need to be made, and that if you rush them, then you may not be giving yourself the opportunity to make a full informed decision. And of course, the hallmark of both mediation and collaborative divorce are informed consent. So you need to be able to make sure that you have sufficient information to feel comfortable with the decisions that you're making. So it's okay not to rush. It's okay to make sure that you have the information, and that you may not be going as fast as the other person, but it's okay that that's going on, and give yourself grace and give the other person grace if they're not ready to make those decisions just yet.
One thing too, I think people forget is with the magnitude of decisions, some decisions are big rocks and some decisions are little rocks, and you don't want to, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but you don't want to, utilize all your time on the little rocks, because really it's the big rocks that are important. And quite often, once those are in place, the little ones fall in, next. And I think some people get lost in what I would call the minutia of the details versus, making decisions that will move the family forward, especially if there's children involved, versus, oh, well, I want this set of towels, or things like that.
Yeah. No, I love that you pointed that out, right? I mean, how much money do you want to spend on fighting over the towels?
It's true.
I mean, that's in a lot of different ways, that's important. I think what you're talking about, maybe, and you can tell me if I'm right or not, but is efficiency, right? So if you make those and focus on those big decisions as opposed to getting involved in those really small decisions, you're really building efficiency, and ultimately those small decisions are going to come into place. So, and just thinking about efficiency, it's not only monetary efficiency, right? So that we get things done quickly. It's, if you build efficiency in a process, then you're going to lower your stress, you're going to lower your emotion. And, so you're going to be efficient from that perspective and be able to make better decisions. And so, but you have to be in a place to be there, too. So, to be able to make those big decisions and know, you need to have the information, in order to make them is, the other side to that too. So, there's a lot of considerations that need to be made. So really trust the team that you're putting in place.
And that's really true. I think divorce, people don't, I think sometimes people don't understand divorce. Number one, it is a process. You have a contract that you're basically unwinding.
Yeah.
Then the other part of that is quite often you do need support, and there are other folks that can help support you during the process. But folks don't go into divorce, I think, realizing that, because they just think it's me against the other person. Or if it's an amicable divorce of, where they are agreeing to, go their separate ways, there's still a lot of a process, and I think your description of the collaborative divorce is really great, especially I think if there's children involved, because sometimes folks, even with their best intention as parents, you really don't know what the kids are going through, because some children just don't speak up.
Yeah. That's part of that team, right? You want to make sure that you have the resources in place for, the kids. Say if you need to bring a child specialist involved, you can have that person involved in part of your team, both mediation and collaborative. So, a financial certified divorce financial analyst can come in and help, really delve into some tricky financial issues and tax issues. And then, you can have a CPA. And again, what you're doing is you're putting a team together that, is really going to help you make those really good decisions. Yeah. So I think that, I'm glad you pointed that out.
Now, I just think it's great because people really don't understand that. And, working with someone like you, who's a mediator and a collaborative divorce professional, you really do get to show people that there's better ways to divorce than just, me against them sort of concept, which, sometimes that you're right. Sometimes it does end up that way.
Yeah. I tell my clients, anybody who I consult with, I tell them usually at the end of the consultation that I'm not the right person for them if they're looking to win this divorce, because I'm not here to help them win. I'm here to help the family make good decisions, and to do it in a way that's going to respect them. It's going to respect the other person, and it's going to treat everybody with dignity. And so that's really, that's the primary value that I bring to this process.
Which I think is really good because, at the end of the day, the whole point of working with someone through this is to help them come out the other side as whole as possible and ready to, if they can, if they're ready at that point, to really move on into a different, season of their life where they're not married anymore. And I think some folks, when they enter into the divorce space, obviously don't see that. Some do, but I think most don't. And having someone like you guide them through that gets them to the point with that success on the other side, which I think is really important. And that's one of the reasons I got into this as a certified divorce lending professional. Was I saw way too many divorces and decrees coming across my desk where there was no success in home ownership, or there was no success in maintaining the marital home because the decrees weren't written the way to support someone coming out the other side. And that's why I really enjoy working with someone like you who understands that, because it's not just an emotional, we're separating, there's the financial pieces of it too. And, bringing in financial experts really helps as well, along with family coaches and, things like that. So we've gone over a lot on the team side, which I really like to see in a divorce. Do you have by chance one really memorable case that you've worked on? And if so, what impacted you the most out of it?
You know, I that's it. There are lots of cases, and each one is so different, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that's why it's a hard question to answer. I think that, it's really those cases where you feel like you haven't quite provided the resource and the service that
Mm.
you feel like you should have. And those are the cases that, really kind of sit there. And, there was a case where, it was fairly on when I started mediating, where there were some real um, control dynamics involved from
Mm.
one house over the other. And, I didn't have the skills yet to really understand how to deal with those dynamics at
Mhm.
the time. And, I what I really wish that I had done is really insisted, as the control over the process, which the mediator is. I really wish I had insisted that they bring in other professionals to support their
Mhm.
decision making. For example, you and I have worked together on some cases, and
Mhm.
one of the things that I love about working with you, Theresa, is that you provide a fantastic information to people, so I know that I can count on you to provide
Oh,
great
thank you.
information. But you do it in a way that's going to be reassuring to both of the parties.
Mm.
And so that's why I love bringing you on board. I wish that I had recognized that this case needed that kind of support
Mm.
at the outset, rather than thinking, oh, I can do this, right? And ultimately we got through the divorce, and I know that they are both moving on in a way that's going to be best for them. But it was a very hard process, and it didn't have the efficiency that I wish that it had,
Mhm.
because I didn't bring on those professionals that really probably should have been brought in. And not that I didn't suggest it, it's that I didn't insist on it, as
Mm.
controlling the process. And that, I think, is something that I've really learned, is there is value in team that is going to support these families, and it's going to
Mhm.
be better for everybody. And really have that conversation, not only about cost, because that's what prevented it, right? Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, it's going to be so expensive. And
Mhm.
it really wouldn't have been that expensive if they had just taken some time to really utilize some really strong resources. And I should have insisted on that, because of that efficiency piece that I recognize now is so important.
You know, that's a really good point, and it's something you learn as you go along, and that was something I learned in my family mediation training. Was you talk about power dynamics, and if you don't have the training, which you have, and you have a wealth of knowledge in, as a support member, which I am,
Mhm.
uh, if you don't recognize that, I think you can actually cause more harm
Yeah.
than not. And that's why I love working in the collaborative and the mediation arena, because we're all trained and we all understand what we're looking at and how to help folks depending on where they're at in the process and where they are, frankly, as humans too, because everyone's a human and we all react differently to things,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's such a great point. That's such a great point.
So I actually really appreciate you sharing your really valuable time with me today. I know you're very busy, and I really enjoy working with you. And I truly respect you as one of our most outstanding family law professionals in, the Portland market. Uh, If someone wanted to find you to work with you or, take benefit from your expertise, where would they go to learn more about you?
Yeah, thanks for asking that and for your kind words. But I'm at my website is www.claritylawllc.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I can be reached at patrick.ward@claritylawllc.com. It's my email address. I'm at phone number is 503-957-7491. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. So people are welcome to go there and reach out. And I'm happy to provide, information and resources to people who, need it to help them make decisions as they're moving on in their lives. I think, when you said that people are human, that's, 100% true. People are not the same as they were yesterday. They're different people today. So, that's, just circling back, it's okay to be in a different space that you were when you first got married, for a lot of families. So.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah,
I am not the same person I was when I got married.
That's right. That's right. My wife are about to celebrate 28 years. I'm so lucky that she's put up with me for that amount of time. But we are not the same person.
I totally concur with that with my husband and I. Oh my gosh. I think we're heading towards 35 years.
Oh my gosh,
goodness.
congratulations. So
yeah, you too. Thank you. So do you have one final thought that you would like to leave with today for us?
Yeah, I think it's just that last piece that we were just talking about is allow yourself to be, a different person than you were, that, you have different needs, and to recognize those needs. And one of those needs may be that, this relationship, this part of your life may be maybe not what it was, and maybe ending, and you need something else, and that's okay. And it's really that need for, I think I used the term grace earlier, and I don't necessarily mean that in a religious sense. From a secular perspective, allowing yourself the opportunity to recognize that you need a transition, and that's okay. But let's find a way to do it in a way that's going to honor you, and honor the person that you did spend this time with, and allow your family to move on with dignity. As I said, that's one of my key values, and that's really what I want to leave people with.
I love that. That is really a great way to leave this show, because I think so many folks really don't recognize that the whole point of divorce is that it's not that you're a failure. It's just that you're moving on to a different point in your life, and it's a different perspective. And having folks like you in the specialty to help people do that in a really successful way, I think is amazing. So I really appreciate your time today, Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me, Theresa. I really enjoy our conversations. So look forward to more of them.
Yay.
All right,
well,